These are the images that have shook the world. Reports suggest at least 500 people have been killed following a deadly strike at the Al-Ali Arab hospital in Gaza. Palestinian officials placed the blame on Israel, saying it was part of an aerial raid on Gaza as part of Israel's military efforts on the area following the October 7th attack by Hamas terrorists. Israel, however, has denied involvement and has blamed the explosion on a misfired rocket launched by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
Intelligence from few sources that we have in our hands indicates that the Islamic Jihad is responsible for the failed rocket launch which hit the hospital in Gaza. I repeat, this is the responsibility of Islamic Jihad that killed innocents in the hospital in Gaza.
The PIJ has since denied this allegation, and some of the evidence Israel refers to has been released on their social media pages to the world. Within their evidence, aerial footage and photographs show before and after images of the hospital. Israel claims the buildings of the hospital are still intact, but the car park shows damage from a fire from an explosive. The remnants of this fire can be seen on the ground, with multiple burnt out cars in the parking lot. Their second piece of evidence is claimed to be audio from a phone call of two Hamas operatives, discussing that the missile strike was actually from the PIJ, rather than Israel.
فبقول لك تبع الجهاد الثوري في الجهاد الإسلامي. إيه؟ فهم بيقولوا تعاون الجهاد الإسلامي. من علمنا هذا؟ شكله من علمنا مين اللي بيقول هيك؟ بيحكوا إن الشظايا تبعت الصاروخ إنه الشظايا محلية مش زي شظايا إيش بتقول؟
Thirdly, the IDF also shared footage of what appears to be Hamas rockets heading for Israel. In the clip, one missile can be seen misfiring, and shortly after an explosion is seen in the distance of what appears to be the hospital, which is what they claim to be from another misfiring rocket.
The trajectory analysis from the barrage of rockets confirms that the rockets were fired close proximity to the hospital. In addition, there are two independent videos which show the failure of the rocket launch and the continuation of rocket flight towards the ground within the Gaza Strip, falling in the hospital compound.
On the ground, a British-Palestinian doctor who was at the hospital described the scene at a press conference, where he was surrounded by the victims of the strike.
In the evening, after we finished one of the surgeries, we heard a missile screech following by a huge explosion. As a result of the explosion, part of the ceiling of the operating room fell. As I moved towards the outside of the operating room and towards the emergency department, we could see bodies of children piled up, both dead, not moving, and wounded. Israel has been warning the entire world that it was going to attack Palestinian hospitals, and it did exactly that. Every Western politician who has declared unconditional support for Israel's war effort on the Palestinian people has the blood of these children on their hands. That unconditional support is what led us to this massacre.
And that message to world politicians comes on the day US President Joe Biden visited Israel, where he was greeted by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The US President has backed Israel's right to defend itself ever since the October 7th attacks by Hamas terrorists. Biden, other world leaders and the UN, however, have consistently urged caution for Israel to ensure civilian casualties are minimised.
I was deeply saddened and outraged by the explosion at the hospital in Gaza yesterday. And based on what I've seen, it appears as though it was done by the other team, not you. But there's a lot of people out there who are not sure. So we've got to overcome a lot of things.
Many in the international community are still working to find out the truth of the incident, including British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who addressed the situation during Prime Minister's questions.
This morning I met with the National Security Advisor, but also the chair of the Joint Intelligence Committee. I could tell the Honourable Gentleman our intelligence services have been rapidly analysing the evidence to independently establish the facts. We are not in a position at this point to say more than that, but I can tell him we are working at pace, but also cooperating and collaborating with our allies on this issue as we look to get to the bottom of the situation, and we will also continue all our efforts to get humanitarian aid into the region.
With both Israel and Palestinian officials denying responsibility, one thing is clear. The incident is another example of more lives lost in a conflict that has already taken thousands.